Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a new video. This video is a time lapse of my previous two live streams. At first I just wanted to put some music under it, but then I thought, you know what, I have some spare time, so let's try to do some commenting and talk a little bit about the painting process, the thought process. If you want to see the live speed and the live commenting, you should check out the live streams. There is a link in the description of this video. I made a mistake. I streamed today, and I put this stream on private. I think so. That was a mistake. Never gonna do that again. Sorry for that. If there were any of you guys wanted to see the stream, but couldn't because it was set to private, I'm sorry for that. So let's quickly continue on the painting itself here. This one is from, well, the first thumbnail we made during the weekly thumbnail challenge, or the daily thumbnail challenge. I'm trying to create a thumbnail every day, well, every day for 6 days a week. And if you want to see that video as well, I will put a link in the description below as well. But the main reason I do that is to get inspired and to get inspiration, to get ideas, to generate those ideas, and see if I can use those ideas and turn them into a nice looking painting. And the new way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to do one of the thumbnail videos a week, and preferably 2 live streams a week, in which I take one of those thumbnails and make it into a finished painting. And of course we're gonna make a time lapse of that live stream, but the time lapses usually won't be with commentary. So onto the painting itself. I think the canvas is about 6,000 or 8,000 pixels wide. Not too big, but I think big enough to work on, and to for the rough kind of roughness that we end up with. I think it's okay. I tried to make a gate there, as you can see a few moments ago, but I decided against it. Here you see me adding some of those bridges, because I thought it would be kind of nice if these structures are sort of connected with each other without people needing to go all the way down to the bottom and then walking up to the other tower and walking all the way up, for instance. So I thought, you know what, it could be nice if there was some kind of bridge between those buildings, and it looks cool. I think that's that's probably one of the main reasons. I mean, if something looks cool, we tend to like it. So yeah, I'm changing up the entrance that I first sort of had in mind, and I decided to make it a lot smaller and to create some extra roofs above it. You'll see me create some more later on. And yeah, it was a fairly relaxing one, this one. I had a lot of fun doing this, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Every now and then you see some weird brush strokes flashing across the screen. That's me during the live stream, sort of explaining some stuff. I think I cut out most of them, but apparently some of them still remained. Here you see me changing up that the front roof here. I didn't really like the ID, the design, so I added a curve, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I changed it later. But you'll see it later when I change it again. And yeah, just working on the foreground, a couple of elements. Don't want to focus too much on the foreground here, because I think the building is the main focal point. I decided to flip the canvas to see how the building was looking, because if you look at it from the same angle every time, or the same way, I don't know, your brain kind of get used to the image, and once you flip it, you start with a fresh image, so you can see what's going on. can see me so that it's leaning slightly to the left, but in the end I kept it, and I thought it was quite okay. So now we're moving into the progress of today, and from here on you're gonna see what I did today to the painting. One of the first things I did was change that roof again, and yeah, today was a lot about getting some extra detailing in, and most of the design was done, so I didn't really have to bother with the design. It was just sort of refining it, getting nice textures here and there and things like that, adding beams of wood, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's a quite fun process. I like it. So yeah, is there anything else to talk about? Most of the painting was done with a flat brush. Then it's a modified Photoshop brush. If you want to know more about the brushes that I use, I recommend you check out the video I did on the brushes there. I tell a little bit more about it and which brush I use for what. And even then, I don't really have a fixed brush for any situation. I just pick a brush and see if it works, and if I'm not entirely happy with it, I'm trying to think which brush would be better suited for the job. But in the end, if you have patience, you can do anything with any brush. Yeah, I'm working a little bit on a tree in the background. Didn't want to detail that too much. As you can see, I'm keeping the details slightly, quite a lot less than the building in the foreground, because the building in the foreground is going to be the focal point. So we want the detail to be kind of readable for the things in the background, but we don't want them to take over. We don't want everything at the same sort of refinement level, so to speak. That gives brings in more life to the painting. I wasn't happy with the roof. It kind of felt empty there, so I decided to add some elements to it. I will change them up slightly later on, but yeah, I thought it needed something extra, so I decided to add those little things to it, and I think it works quite well. You see me refining up the bridges. I think most of it speaks for itself. If you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comments, and I will try to answer them in a later video, or I will post a comment myself, the answer to your questions. But yeah, I think this process was quite straightforward. Once you have sort of the initial idea, although the thumbnail was really rough, and you can get discouraged by that a little bit. I think you can think, oh, it doesn't look nice, but if you put in another, let's say, 50 minutes to 30 minutes, it's a big change actually from the initial thumbnail stage to the painting. And at this point, we're about after the initial thumbnail, which took maybe 15 minutes, which was actually quite long for the amount of detail that it has. The lack of detail, I probably should say. But in the end, I think we painted for 3 more hours. Yeah, I think in total we painted three hours on this, so it's less than 3.5 hours work. I think it's a fairly decent painting for 3.5 hours of work. I think I can get faster if I want to in the future, but I think I want to focus on quality a little bit more before I move into more quantity. So this is sort of the last phase of the painting. I'm adding highlights to different parts just to let them pop a little bit more. In the end, maybe I could have done a little bit more of this, but I think shouldn't overdo it. So I think, yeah, I think it's probably at a level that I'm happy with. So yeah, that's about it for this painting. Please leave a comment what you think of it, and if you have any suggestions what we should paint next, you can pick a thumbnail from the thumbnail videos. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you next week, hopefully. Bye!